From the 1880s until the late 1960s, Prince Edward County was the center of the canning industry in Canada. The area was so dominant within the trade, it was known as the Garden County of Canada, producing canned goods shipped around the world. Dozens of factories dotted the landscape. One such factory was built in the village of Cherry Valley along the shores of East Lake. The plant was built in 1937, and like other factories, the company contracted with local farmers to grow the crops and hired workers, mainly women, to work long hours sorting, washing, and cooking the raw products. It was a tough, heartbreaking business. Drought, frost, and insects were a constant threat. For workers, it was hot, hard work with long hours and poor pay. In the 1930s, the pay was 7.5 cents an hour for a 10-hour day with no extra money for mandatory overtime. Contracts with farmers could be strict and monopolistic. But at a time when jobs were scarce and farm incomes were low, the canning business became the main industry in Prince Edward County. The Cherry Valley factory was sold in the early 1940s to new owners, the Hyatt family, veterans of the business with a plant at nearby West Lake, producing Sunset brand canned goods. At the height of the harvest season from June through October, the Hyatt factory processed locally grown peas, corn, tomatoes, pumpkin, squash, and other crops turned into canned goods shipped across the country. It was a frenetic, labor-intensive, round-the-clock operation, processing crops that could quickly lose quality. The permanent staff of around a dozen employees was augmented by another 10 to 20 workers. Factories signaled their shift changes through steam-driven whistles. In the summer months, life in the village was busy, noisy, and kind of smelly. Sue Blower lived next to the factory for years.
The biggest thing I remember are the big wagons and stuff coming in with the tomatoes and the pea viners when they would do the peas, and they didn't always smell that great. There was a lot of activity. There were vehicles and tractors, wagons, and whatever coming down the lane all the time.
Alan Allworth started working at the factory as a young boy. Even at 50 cents an hour, it was a way to make some money while avoiding chores at home.
My mom and dad had a market garden. And my dad used to sell vegetables on the side of the road up there. So every spring, we'd have to get work in the garden and weeding rows of beets and carrots. I got a job down here. I didn't have to do that. I had my own money. I bought my own car. My first car, I paid cash for it myself from working down here at the factory. It would start out for me in the spring of the year, early spring. I would come down here after school or at night and fire a boiler and keep it warm in there for the tomato plants. And I'd do that up here all night. They had a big old chair and I'd sleep in that, but then I'd go to school.
In January 1965, a fire consumed the Cherry Valley factory. It was a devastating blow to its owners, workers, and the small community.
It just went up like somebody dumped gasoline on them. And the canned goods, the cans, cherry red, flying up in the air, 25 or 50 feet or whatever in the air. You could see them from the longest ways. I remember coming down the laneway, and there was several people that I walked past, and they had dropped their head because they knew that it meant a lot of money, and it meant a lot of jobs for people.
Within a year, a new factory was constructed, and the Hyatt Canning Company was back in business. But the industry was changing. More modern factories were built in southwestern Ontario with its longer growing seasons and better land. Labor laws, environmental regulations, foreign imports of canned goods, and the costs of building heated storage for their products to meet the demands of chain stores all took their toll.
The market changed. People started bringing tomatoes from offshore. It was difficult to get the labor to peel them. Mechanical peeling was coming in, and we didn't have the facilities to actually make the change. It came down to the fact that we lost our market share. There was no market for what we were doing, so we had to get out.
The Hyatt factory in Cherry Valley closed in 1985, and the canning industry, once the lifeblood of the local economy in Prince Edward County, was gone for good.
I'm sure it hit the farming industry. And I always wondered some of the grocery stores, hardware stores, where we used to spend some money during the high season and how they managed. I'm sure it was hard on the county overall.
It was good for the community. It was good for the people that worked here. It was just really good. Yeah, it was hard work. I'm going to tell you, like, you didn't gain a lot of weight from because you were losing it because you sweated off when you were down here. Nobody complained about that because at the end of the week your paycheck was good.
The Hyatt Canning Factory was abandoned for nearly 40 years. But in 2022, it was purchased by the county Cooperage company to begin a new life as a barrel manufacturing facility.